Hi, welcome to the technical webinar for the RFA for Phase 1 FY25 for SBIR and STTR. I'm Melinda Kaufman. I'm the SBIR STTR Program Coordinator for USDA, and we're very glad that you all came and can learn a little bit more about the technicalities of the application. So some of the meeting logistics, this webinar is being recorded now. So please make sure your microphone stays muted. And then there's the number for Zoom tech support, and with the option 2 if you run into any problems. And then please type your questions, I think, in the Q&A rather than the chat box. And then slides and the recordings from this will be posted on this website when you're ready. And Nurun, did I forget something?
You did. So I'm going to mention about the captioning. If anyone is requiring to have the captions, you have the ability to turn it on. Please look at the bottom of your screen, and then you can enable show captions. It will enable to write down the captions for you.
Great. And this is our non-discrimination statement. We take it very seriously at USDA, but we have limited time in this webinar. So I'm going to give you a summary, but you'll get a copy of this, or it will be posted on our website. And so please take a little time to read through it, because it's an important statement. USDA is an equal opportunity provider, employer, and lender. Additional details are included on this slide, and a link to USDA's non-discrimination statement, 501 compliance, and filing discrimination complaints. We encourage audience members to refer to this slide if you have any questions or concerns. Again, I'm Melinda Kaufman. You've met me already. And then this is Tammy Neville is here. She's a program specialist, an excellent program specialist with SBIR STTR, and Dr. Nurun Nahar, who you just heard speak, is another excellent program specialist. And we're all in the Institute of Bioenergy and Climate.
You also introduced to Leslie?
Yes, and then we have we don't have her picture up here, but that's Leslie live on screen, Leslie Vanderwood, and she is our program specialist for due diligence and foreign influence, and she is actually also exceptional in her work. So these are the topics we're going to cover in this webinar. We're going to give you an overview, a NIFA, a brief overview, a program overview, a request for application details, proposal evaluation process, and then a little bit of additional information. This is the overview of the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, or NIFA. So NIFA is the extramural science-funded agency, and it sits within USDA's Research, Education, and Economics mission area. We invest in and support initiatives that ensure the long-term viability in the field of agriculture. And NIFA provides funding and strategic leadership programs that ensure groundbreaking discoveries in agriculture-related sciences and technologies that reach the people who can put them into practice. These are some of the topics covered by NIFA programs. I'm not going to read through all of them, but you can see how wide and varied they are. And so NIFA does a lot of work. We're just part of NIFA. The SBIR STTR program, which is for all of USDA, is just housed within NIFA. But NIFA does all of these things and more. This is a little bit about the program overview for SBIR STTR. The purpose and priorities. It's intended to support scientific excellence and technological innovation. So we invest some federal research funds to build a strong national economy by stimulating technological innovation in the private sector. So SBIR STTR seeks to do two things at once, which is to strengthen the role of small business, which is the backbone of the American economy, and at the same time promote agriculture, in this case, agricultural, scientific and technical research. And thirdly, I would say to get those things into the commercial market. And very importantly, along with that, to foster and encourage the participation by underrepresented small business owners. So eligibility for SBIR STTR, each applicant must qualify as a small business concern through registration with SBA on the SBIR.gov website. You can have no more, as to qualify for as a small business, you can have no more than 500 employees. You have to be a for-profit company. This is not for nonprofit companies, so you must be for-profit. And the research has to be performed in the US and no more than 50% owned and controlled by US citizens or permanent residents. More than 50% owned and controlled by US citizens and or permanent residents. These are some program eligibilities to kind of highlight how you can apply. So you can apply for SBIR, you can apply for STTR, or you can apply for both, which I always, the caveat to that is it means either. So it says both on the application, but it means either. You can't get two for the same project. So here are the applicant is always a small business. Some individuals get a little bit confused about that and think that nonprofit research institute or the university can apply, but it always has to be the small business. This program is for small businesses. But as far as nonprofit research institution or federally funded research and development center participation, for SBIR, you do not have to. You may do that, and we encourage you to do that, but you don't have to. For STTR and for applying for both, you must. You must subcontract with a university or federal lab. And so the percent of participation for nonprofit research institution or federal lab is 33% or less for SBIR, and then 30 to 60% for STTR, and 30 to 33% if you're applying for either or both in the both column. The primary employment of the principal investigator with SBIR must be employed with a small business. With STTR, this is one of the advantages. You can be employed with either the small business or the nonprofit research institution. For applying for both, you must be employed with a small business. And then a formal cooperative agreement is required for STTR and for the application to both, but not for SBIR. The project and grant types, the project type is a research grant, and it's a standard grant type. Phase 1, award size and duration. So for SBIR, the phase 1 is 8 months in duration. So that would be from 7/1/25, July 1st, 25 to February 28th of 26. For STTR, it is 12 months in duration. So that should run from July 1st to June 30th of 2026. And then the award sizes. They range from for phase 1 from 125,000 to 175,000. So we have 10 topic areas. 8 of them are funded at up to 175,000. 2 of them are funded at 125,000, and those are topic areas 8.6, which is rural and community development, and 8.12, which is small and mid-sized farms. They're funded a little lower because you can use off-the-shelf technology if it's applied in an innovative way. And then there's an additional technical and business assistance, or TABA, funding available on top of the award amount, not as part of the award, but on top of it, $6,500, and that is to help you write your commercialization plan for phase 2. No matching is required for SBIR or STTR grants. But if you do have matching resources, that's fine, but it's not required. But it won't be factored into the review process as part of the evaluation of your proposal. Fraud, waste, fraud, and abuse. I do want to take a couple minutes and talk to you about this because it's very important. So the basic thing to avoid waste, fraud, and abuse is to use the grant money for what you said it would be used for, not for anything else. So just stick to that and you'll be fine. So some things you can't use grant money for is personal expenses. You can't pay a university or a federal lab for all of the proposed research. That the small business has to do some of the research. You can't pay institutions who do the proposed work but still draw down the funds. You can't lie to the awarding entity, including in your biosketch. That's a very serious violation. So please don't inflate any kind of qualifications. And then you have terms and conditions when you're awarded that. That really clearly outlines what is allowed and what is not allowed. Embezzlement and theft of public money. That's the statute, the 18 UCS 641. And knowingly converting funds or items to use without authority to do so. Federal money is still property of the U.S. government, and even after it's been deposited in the grantee's bank account, it is still property of the federal government. And then we have the burden to prove that it's an intentional act. And then importantly, the criminal penalties for any waste, fraud, or abuse are prison, fines, or restitution. So it's very serious offense. These are just some, you'll have access to these, you can look them up. These are just some cases where there were convictions for SBIR and STTR. So just to let you know, it does happen, unfortunately. So we have a USDA Office of the Inspector General. We work very closely with them. In fact, I have a meeting with them this afternoon. So this is their mission statement. Their mission is to promote the economy, efficiency, and integrity of the U.S. Department of Agriculture programs and operations through the successful execution of audits, investigations, and reviews. This is their hotline number and the information you would need to contact them if you have any concerns. You're on.
Thank you, Ms. Kaufman, giving details about the NIFA program overview, Small Business Innovation Research and Technology Transfer Program overview, and then a little bit training on the waste, fraud, abuse. To be aware once our applicant receive the recommended award. So one of the biggest component for the request for application training webinar is going through the RFA. RFA is request for application or the solicitation. We want to go through the RFA and remind you the details of required documentation, evaluation process, and what are the changes happen. So let's kind of cover that. You all heard that I'm Nurul Nahar. I am a program specialist in the Small Business Innovation Research and Technology Transfer Program. So first, I would like to tell you a little bit about what are the changes from prior years. To be honest, there is no change in this year compared to the last year. However, a couple changes happened in recent year. Even fiscal year 23, we did have the recommendation, but now it is a restricted one. Project summary cannot be more than 250 words. So it should be either 250 or less words. So keep in mind, this is a recent changes, so we wanted to remind you. And then the second one we want to remind, this is also last year happened. It's not just applicable as a new requirement. In terms of SBIR and STTR Extension Act of 2022, there is a disclosure of foreign relationships. So this is a requirement. All SBIR STTR applicants must disclose their foreign relationship as required by this act. Disclosure of foreign affiliation or relationship to foreign countries form must be disclosed this relationship, and it is required for all applicants. Please remind that if you think that if you do not have any foreign relationship, you still need to complete this form and certify that such relationship does not exist. Failure to include this form may result in declination of your application in our review process. So please be mindful on that one. And this is available on the grants.gov application form. You will see that there is nothing to miss it. Just don't think that you don't have any affiliation. You don't need to fill it out. If you do not have affiliation still, please fill this out and submit it. Second one is benchmark documentation. So these new benchmark documentation for our phase 1 application, it basically tells for phase 1 to phase 2 transition rate benchmark. So what happens if any small business who receives at least 20 phase 1 hours, regardless the agency, it doesn't have to be USDA, it could be DOE, EPA, NASA, wherever it is. For the last 5 years, they have to have 5 phase 2 hours. So it is calculation goes 1 phase 2 for every 4 phase 1 awards received. It's a 25% conversion rate, regardless of the awarding agency. And you need to document that and submit that. In terms of any small business who receive way more funding, say more than 50 phase 1 awards, that transition rate is higher. In that case, they have to have 50% conversion rate, meaning that if you have 2 phase 1, you have to have 1 phase 1, 1 phase 2 for every 2 phase 1 award needs to be documented. So this is source of how many phase 1 award you receive. And if you receive that, then you have to also tell us or send the document how many phase 2 you receive based on how many phase 1 you have. If you did not receive 20 SBIR STTR awards, do not worry about this benchmark rate. It does not apply to you. Let's go to the application details. We are just so happy that request for application or RFA or solicitation, whatever you say, this is available. And RFA is available online, and we are sharing that link. If you go to our website, you will also find that RFA is available for you. It is already posted in the grants.gov as well. Application deadline is 5 p.m. It is Tuesday, September 17, 2024. Please see that I have provided it's not only 5 p.m. I said 5:00 p.m. and it is intentional. If your application submits happen 5:01, just 1 minute after 5:00 p.m., this is not going to be accepted. We need to be fair with all the application that has been submitted. So it's a strict deadline that you have to meet it. So please do not wait until last minute to submit your application. Do it little early. This is our application submission deadline. One other thing I get a lot of query about, if there is a letter of intent or pre-proposal we need to approve by the program manager. No, USDA SBIR STTR program does not require any letter of intent. So you will be, okay, just submit your idea or the application. You do not have to have any approved letter of intent. Now, the anticipated amount available for SBIR in fiscal year 25 is approximately $13 million for SBIR program and then around $2.5 million for STTR program. And then you see that we do have program code. Melinda Kaufman mentioned that we do have 10 different programs and program code from 8.1, 8.2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it jumps to 8.12 and 8.13. Sometimes I see that application program code is written NIFA, AFRI, a lot of different things. Those are incorrect. Please remind that program code is the number 8.1 and those are the numbers. Once you open the request for application, you will find those specific program code where you are applying. Maximum funding per award, Melinda mentioned a little bit, we're gonna include it here. She said 125,000 and then additional 6,500 for technical and business assistance. So for two programs, 8.6 and 8.12, you can get the highest amount, 131,500. For all other programs except those two, you can receive up to 181,500, including that 6,500 technical assistant, technical and business assistants. Another key things I wanted to remind you that USDA NIFA will only award up to 2 SBIR STTR phase 1 awards per small business. You can apply multiple, you can apply more than 2, but if you receive the recommendation, you have to choose which 2 you will be receiving. So only 2 award is acceptable for you for the SBIR STTR program. All right, let's look at the key documents that you need to think about once you are preparing and planning for your application. So the key components are the application I listed on the left side is the project summary or the abstract. This is must, is the required document. So this project summary actually must show how your project goals align with the project goal of the SBIR STTR. This project summary includes a description of the problem or the opportunity that you are proposing, what is your project objectives, and also a description of the effort. This project summary must include a paragraph discussing what is the anticipated results and then potential commercial application of that proposed research that you are applying for. So that's the first required one. And keep in mind again, I'm going to remind many times, project summary, no more than 250 words. It should be very succinct, concise, and impactful. The second one as a required document is a project narrative. The project narrative must include list of items. There are list of items from A to I. If you go to page 39 and 40 in the RFA, those are listed. I'll probably come back in later slide and discuss all of those components, but this is a required document. So what you need to include on the project narrative, mostly you have to have those responsive to the USDA SBIR STTR program priorities, what is your prior USDA support, significance of the problem that you have identified, what is your background and rationale, and a lot of different things. I'm going to come back and discuss on those. The third one is bibliography and cited reference. Once you are writing down the background or project narrative, you always do some sorts of review process. So all the references cited in the application should have a compiled list, and that's called bibliography. It should be included. NIFA grants application guide for profile requirements and details for a lot of different things. You will find that clear description, what to include, what not to include in terms of your bibliography and other things. The next two things are required: budget. You should have a budget, and budget justification. how you're gonna allocate that budget. The last one is disclosure of foreign relationship form that I mentioned. Even though you do not have any foreign relationship, still it is going to be important for you to fill out the form and submit it. All these 5 are really, really key documents. Anything missing from this list is not going to be reviewed after our initial screening. So you will lose that review process. So keep in mind and make sure that you have everything there. Now, on the right side, also a couple important documents, but those are mentioned in the NIFA grant application guide. So those clearly identified what you will be needing. So you will be needing key personal bio sketches. So we want that all biographical sketches must indicate the employment history of each PD and co-PD for the last 10 years. If you do not have any employment history, mention that, but you have to fill out that information and submit it. The PD and co-PD must also include biographical sketches, conflict of interest, and then we do have the form describe what is the conflict of interest and who could be listed as a conflict of interest, and current and pending support documents. And all the templates can be found at NIFA's grant application guide in here. So this NIFA's grant application guide is a secondary documents, is complement the RFA. So this guide actually helps you to prepare your application and submit it. And a lot of templates are available to the grants application guide. Okay. Other 1 or 2 things I wanted to mention in terms of facilities and other resources. So I mentioned that the PD and co-PD should have biosketch, conflict of interest, current and pending. If you do not have listed current and pending, still you need to fill out that form and write down that you do not have any. But keep in mind that the application you are submitting, that could be considered as a pending. So list at least that one. Then you see the TABA request, technical and business assistant requests. So this one is by John McCain National Defense Authorization Act. This permits all our phase 1 and phase 2, phase 1 awardee to enter in the agreement with 1 or more vendors to provide the technical and business assistant. For USDA, there are 2 ways you can do that. One is you can utilize the service provided by the USDA vendor, and we do have LARTA Institute. They are our vendor. By default, you could choose them, or you can identify own TABA assistance provider and then list them how you want to use them. Then it comes back, facilities and other resources. Describe the types of location, the availability of the instrumentation, or any other facility necessary to carry out the proposed work. Same with the equipment. What are the equipments you need? Do you have available to use those equipment for your research or not? Those are going to go to the equipment documentation. Last of all is the letters of support. And I said it if it is applicable, but it is an indication of market validation and really a critical component. Letters of support actually demonstrate that the company has initiated dialogue with relevant stakeholders. And who are your stakeholders? It could be potential customers or end users. It could be your partners or future investors. So if letter of support are not appropriate for this stage of your innovation, justify that, write it down and include that within 2 pages saying that what are the reasons you could not include any letters of support. But if you can, do not go way beyond including 20, 30, 40 letters of support that we see sometimes. Very relevant, 3 to 5 is more than enough. Even sometimes 1 or 2 would be good, strong letter of support that strengthen your application. The next one is data management plan. A lot of our different program for the funding, we see that this is a critical component that you have to have a data management plan. But for SBIR STTR program, this is not required. So do not get too worried about filling out or writing down the data management plan. You can skip this one. All right, I said that I'm going to come back to the most important component, and components are, first of all, project summary. I already mentioned that it has to be 250 words or less. Please include that. And if you want to use the template is also available for the project summary. Other things I would like to remind you, you will see that in RFA that your project summary should be 12-point Times New Roman font. Please do not change that. Do not go beyond 12-point Times New Roman font. The project summary also must show how the project goals align with the project goals of the SBIR STTR Phase 1 program. It should also discuss the anticipated results that you're going to be planning to get and what would be the potential commercial application of the proposed research. We know that for Phase 1, you do not have much of the commercialization view, but really it is showing that you are visionary, you want to see where is the market potential lies. It may be different, it may change, but you have to have vision and should include that on the project summary. So I will say project summary is really important to grab attention of your reviewer. It should be really concise and impactful. Also, do not include any confidential or proprietary information in your project summary. The next important one is the project narrative one. The project narrative is not a word limit, it's a page limit. It's a 17-page limit and very strictly enforced. What does it mean strictly enforced? We said 17-page limit. We will have an initial screening that I'm going to go through. If we see that 17-page and one paragraph, it went to 18-page, next to the 17-page, it is out of the consideration for the review process. So really be mindful that these are strictly enforced. Also, we structured that all the project narrative should be 1.5 line spacing and at least 1 inch margin, including 12 points Times New Roman font. We want to strictly enforce that to be fair with all our applicants. If someone is not doing 1.5 line spacing, doing single line spacing, they can fit more, and that wouldn't be fair for another applicant. So please be mindful that these are all mention how you should be formatting your project narrative. Just to fit 1 or 2 more things, you're gonna be risking your applicant to not to be reviewed. So be mindful on that. Project narrative always should and can include figures and tables. Figures and tables can be using 11-point Times New Roman, just a little bit smaller. And tables can be single spaced. So everything is defined in the RFA. Now, in terms of resubmission, Phase 1, we always ask to resubmit. If you apply one time, you got feedback but was not successful, use those feedback and resubmit that. For your resubmission, you get 1 additional page. So you have 17-page narrative, then you got 1 more additional page to write down the response that reviewer gave. How did you incorporate their review comments? How do you answer those and give that feedback? So this resubmission should have the 18 pages. So keep in mind again, I say repeatedly, application exceeding the page limits or font size or line spacing will be returned without review. So these are really important. And we gave this responsibility to applicant to review the attachment for page limit and all those things. NIFA will not review applicant that exceed the required page limits. That's defined. Now, coming back to the project narrative that I told that the project narrative is probably the most important piece to convey your message, how you're gonna define and then say what is your in terms of your project narrative. First one is response to previous review resubmission. So I told you that you get 1 page extra. So try to use that one. Second one, responsiveness to USD SBIR STTR program. So indicate how your application has a connection to agriculturally related manufacturing technology or even energy efficiency, alternative renewable energy, and provide a brief explanation how this application is related to the area that you have indicated. The third one, clearly state the specific technical problem or the opportunity address and why it is important. Background and rationale is really important. Indicate the overall background. Describe how the proposed research plays a critical part. And cite any relevant research in terms of your bibliography. Relationship with research and research development. Discuss the significance of the phase 1 effort in providing a foundation, how you're going to do that for the phase 2 effort. Technical objective of the research and research development effort should needed to establish the proposed approach, how you're going to link with your objective, the technical objective with the proposed approach. Next, come to the work plan. To my mind, this is the critical one and the biggest part, the longest part of your narrative. It is really detailed description of the research that you're going to do. So this is the most important part of your narrative. It should include the details methodology that you're going to use for your research and indicate how you're going to carry out your research. You describe the key experimental plan that you have for proof of concept. You write down how your individual task is aligned with your technical objective of the research. Also, this is the area in the work plan you should be including the graph, tables, charts, etc. So be mindful and use this work plan and think that if it is making sense with your overall objective or different task that you are aligning. Next, come back to the related research and development activities for your program. Discuss the existing innovation in the application, how you're going to convince the reviewers, how this proposed research is going to be linked with the commercial innovation in the selected program. I should describe that. Another big one is the market opportunity. Describe your customers and your basic go-to-the-market strategy to achieve the market opportunity. Now, I know it is early for some of you that you have not done tons of research, so not quite sure about the market opportunity, but at least discuss the potential economic benefits associated with your innovation. So those are all key information from A to I. You're going to find that on RFA page 39 to 40. Now, once you are ready for application submission, couple of things, be very mindful. NIFA only accept electronic submission of the application through grants.gov. You just cannot email us your application and request to accept that. It has to go through the grants.gov. NIFA grants application guide is available. Please use that as a supplemental material with our RFA to prepare all those documents. Key points here, I want to say that any documents you are attaching to the grants.gov as a part of your application, it has to be portable document format. It's called PDF. We do not accept at NIFA any other format except PDF. So if you submit Word document, Excel document, we cannot open that up through our system. So be mindful, anything you send has to be the PDF format. Now, application submission check. We recommend that you conduct an administrative review of the application before submission via grants.gov to ensure that it complies all the preparation instruction, including the page limits, formatting, and then PDF format. Application for fiscal year 2025. Again, it has to be received by grants.gov 5 p.m. Eastern Time on September 17, 2024. Now let's come and discuss a little bit about the application evaluation process. There are two different kinds of evaluation process we do. One is the initial screening, and then if you pass that initial screening, that's really good, then it goes to the scientific peer review process. So what does it do with the initial screening criteria? I already covered a lot of things that we do at initial screening. One thing is even if you have to be eligible as a small business to apply to the SBIR STTR program, that means Kaufman covered. But some of the screening criteria we use that summary or abstract 250 words or not. Is it a PDF format? If not, it is gone. It cannot go to the next review process. How about project narrative? Is it 17 pages? Did it follow all those specifications, 12 times New Roman and then 1.5 line spacing? That's important. If not, it's not going to go to the next criteria. If you ask for budget exceeding 131, 500 for 2 programs, and for the rest 181,500, including TABA, is out because you are asking more than we can provide. So not having the budget within the limit identified in the RFA, you are risking your proposal. Don't do that. The proposed project must fall within the SBIR STTR topic areas. We do have 10 topic areas. You have to identify the topic areas, and it needs to be linked how you choose the topic areas. If your proposed research link with these topic areas or not. And again, if you apply and then have not received any correspondence from NIFA regarding application within 30 days of the application deadline, please contact us. It might be gone with some other program. We can check that. So let us know if you see that you have not received any communication 30 days after 17th September. Next, let's go to the scientific and peer review process. What happens? You have passed the initial screening, and I'm going to say that good job if you pass the initial screening, because we see that around 70% application does not pass the initial screening. So having that everything PDF, maintaining the formatting, maintaining the page limit is really key. Once you pass that one, it goes to the scientific peer review process. So for the scientific peer review process, proposal are actually assigned for review at least 3 reviewers in the expertise of the proposed topic. And the reviewers are from so many different areas. It could be from university, federal lab, private university. So they are vastly different background. Reviewers will provide individual review for each proposal and evaluating the strength and weakness of your proposal. These written reviews are used to begin the panel discussion with other reviewers serving in the peer review panel. Once that is done through discussion, peer review panelists actually come to a consensus as a group for the final rating and ranking the proposal from 1 to how many proposals we get. So that's the peer review process in general to our NIFA. Now, scientific evaluation criteria that's set for SBIR STTR program, I want to point out, pay attention on 6 different criteria. This is same evaluation criteria that we also give our reviewer. Phase 1, scientific and technical feasibility. That's the first one. And then market potential, importance of the problem, investigator or research qualification, budget, and duplication. If you see, you will see that the first 2 we highlighted red. The reason is, even though everything is sort of a equal criteria, we always say that scientific and technical feasibility and market potential, these 2 receive twice the consideration than any other point. So pay really good attention for the first 2 at least. So for scientific and technical feasibility, look at the RFA. It defines how you're going to propose objective and outcomes. You need to clearly describe how you're going to do or describe the procedure or methodology, expected results and outcomes and everything. For market potential also, you need to tell, does the outcome of the proposed activity lead to a market product or service? Is there enough information to validate the market opportunity? All those important information. You need to write down sufficient justification for the importance of your problem, and then roles of the key personnel and their qualification. If you do not have any business expertise in your group, it is important to have someone so that they can anticipate what are the business assistance you need for your project. It has to be budget appropriate for the proposed project and sufficient budget detail to indicate how the funds would be utilized. Duplication, there is no duplication of any ongoing previous research by the proposal you will be submitting. If you apply our program, clearly indicates how the proposed technology would differ significantly than others. So those are all important ones. Additional factor is CRADA, Cooperative Research and Development Agreement. This is a really good and critical criteria. If two applications have similar merit or equal merit, then CRADA is the tiebreaker. If someone has CRADA, that will get the funding rather than the other one. So this is important time. Let's look at the timeline of our competitive program. So RFA is published in July in our website and grants.gov. You all know that. That's why we are doing the RFA technical webinar. The proposal deadline is in September. I mentioned that 5:00 p.m. Keep in mind it is Eastern time. Then we go through the initial screening and review process. Most of the peer review process goes November to January. So that by then you're gonna get the award notification. If you receive the award notification, then you can start the award in July next year. So on average, SBIR STTR program requires approximately 6 months from the proposal to the final selection. We'll keep you updated in every step, but if you have any question, you could always ask us, but we appreciate your patience because it's a lengthy process.
Naroon,
Yes.
I just wanted to, we have like 10 minutes left in this.
Thank you. I probably will not need more than 2 minutes, and then we can go back to question and answer. Thank you, Melinda.
Sure.
So we do have a NIFA reporting portal. This is the portal and the website I use on the bottom. If you would like to see what are the funded or awarded proposal in different topic area, you can go back to this website and look at the previously funded award. So give a kind of a good idea. Also want to include the upcoming events. USDA SBIR STTR is just one program, but NIFA has a lot of different upcoming events. So sharing the calendar for upcoming deadlines, meeting and webinars. If you are interested on other programs, also RFA release calendar is provided there. There are different grant resources might be useful to you once you are preparing your application, like funding opportunities, NIFA training resources, policy guide, how do you calculate the indirect cost rate, everything is listed here. Those are all linkable, so you can just follow those links and access those resources for it. Now, if you do have any question in terms of the RFA or the technical webinar we did, please feel free to email us at sbir@usda.gov. This is our SBIR STTR general mailbox. Tammy and I maintain this mailbox. You will receive the response from us. If you have any question in terms of disclosure of foreign affiliation, Leslie is maintaining the SBIR@usda.gov. Please email her on that email box to get a question. If you have any scientific or technical questions, we'll suggest that please look at the RFA, find out which topic area you're going to be applying, and reach out to the national program leader for that topic area. Now, thank you everyone for joining. Visit our website also, nifa.usda.gov/SBIR. We do have a lot of resources in terms of different forms, frequently asked questions, recent webinar, how to write a strong application, and general overview. Everything is available in our website, so please watch in our website. So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing and we'll go back some of the Q&A. And I know that Tammy Neville is answering a lot of your question and answer, but we'll come back and see if we can answer some of those live.
There's a couple questions in the chat that Melinda's going to answer, and there's a couple for Leslie. So we need to kind of divide time between the two of them.
Sure.
Jump in about the foreign affiliation really quickly. There are a few questions in the chat. Again, I'm a program analyst with the due diligence program. For people who have questions, perhaps your parents are not US citizens or not located in the country, or you yourself have some relationship. We're looking in the disclosure form for business relationships, typically with foreign entities. So the form will have all the definitions and which countries are of concern, are of interest to us. But really what you want to focus on are any kind of business relations, whether it's investments or foreign affiliations with foreign institutions, whether they be research institutions, government institutions, and relationships of that nature. So if you have a personal relationship to another country, that is not automatically disclosable, but definitely take a look at the form that will be attached to the application and fill it out from there. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Leslie. That helps a lot.
Yes. And there's a question about if your technology seems to fit under multiple topic areas, how can you get help? And that is very common because of all our topic areas are very broad. So it's really common for this to happen. And we have a solution for you, and I'll put it in the, I guess in the chat maybe. We have a USDA, SBIR, STTR, national program leader, a scientist who understands the topic areas very well and can help you. He can't advise you, but he can, give you more information about the topic areas so you can make a better choice. And his name is Dr. David Songstad, and we'll put his contact information. It's on the website and it's in the RFA, but we'll put it in the chat. And then there's a question about the formal cooperative agreement. I'm sorry, I keep losing my place. For STTR, what type of formal cooperative agreement does there need to be between the business and the university? Usually, universities have formal cooperative agreements. That's the reason we don't have a form for you to fill out, because oftentimes universities have their own forms that they would like for you to use. So, I think you'll find that that's pretty true. And if not, you can use some kind of standard formal cooperative agreement. Oh, the transcript for the questions. Go ahead, Maureen. I'm sorry.
No, I see you.
The questions are going to be sent out to the audience, I believe, rather than posted. Is that correct?
I don't think we have a plan to post the Q&A.
Okay. But we can send the Q&A if somebody asks for it. Is that right?
Please put your email in somewhere so we know where to send it.
All right, there is a question from another one. Do I understand correctly that SBIR doesn't require a partnership with academic institute, but STTR does? Yes. For SBIR, is not a required one. If you can, it's a good. But for STTR, this is a required one. You are correct.
If you have an academic partnership with for SBIR, that's great. We encourage it. It's not required, but we do encourage you to do some subcontracting with a university or federal lab. So this question about the forms, it gives you the option to either download the forms, fill them out as PDF and upload them, or fill them out directly on grants.gov. I just want to make sure we can do either.
But keep in mind that grants.gov workspace is totally separate. We do not control, we do not have access that. Grants.gov has a lot of resources for you. If you do have trouble, look at their website, how to fill out. They have really very clear guidelines. How can you use the workspace?
I would recommend using the workspace that's in there. That way you won't miss any of the required forms because all of the required forms will show up in the workspace as within grants.gov as you are filling out those sections of the application.
That's right.
That's a great answer. Thanks. I'm gonna actually put that in the answer to questions.
All right, once you do that, I'm gonna take another question. Someone said that, can you please link to review the program code 8.6 and 8.12? We have the link for the RFA, so you go to the RFA, please, and then RFA has all those program code. We do not have a separate link for 8.6 and 8.12. Once you open up the PDF, you can see the description of the program code at 8.6 and 8.12.
We only have 2 minutes left, so if there's any questions that somebody's dying to answer, go ahead and find those.
Should letters of support be from partners or can they be from people, firms in the field saying that they're viable, it's a viable business idea? So what we want to do with letters of support is to demonstrate the commercial potential of your innovation. So it's typically from investors or end users, customers, those types of things. So as long as it shows that the innovation has commercial viability, that is, just keep that in mind, that's the point.
We've had a couple of people asking about reviewing for grants, and I have put in the Q&A a couple of times. We have a peer review system volunteer questionnaire. If you just search USDA NIFA volunteer reviewer, it will show up, and you can fill that out and you'll be added to the database of interested reviewers.
All right, thank you, Tammy. One of the quick question I want to answer, how long do the PI need to have been working in the small business that is applying? If you are approved as a small business concern, the next day you can apply. There is no requirement for certain date or duration that you have to be there.
And I think with that, we're out of time.
Yeah, I think we covered all those questions. STTR require a specific cooperative agreement. This is another question. I think that we do not have a specific cooperative agreement form to fill out. If you are doing a cooperative agreement with certain university, they might have a specific form. You can just fill out that form. We do not require our specific form to fill out. All right, I think we are out of time. I think we answered all the questions you had asked. Thank you everyone for joining us today. If you have any additional question, don't forget that you can ask us as SBIR@usda.gov. We will reply your question and answer. All the best with your application. Please be mindful. The deadline is September 17th, 5:00 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all.